no time for bullshit.
Quadratisch, praktisch, gut.
Berliner Schnauze.
Knock. Well guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we have a guest, this beautiful lady Shannon. She's gonna share with us her story and also tell us about her experience living in Berlin and not just in Berlin. So, tell us about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm from Berlin, but not from Berlin. I was born in Germany, but as my accent might sort of hint at, I spent a good few years in America, more specifically in California. I spent most of my childhood there. Then I came back to Germany, but in Bavaria, which is significantly different than Berlin. And then when I was around 15, 16, I moved to Berlin to my family here, stayed here, and then moved to Scotland at one point for university, and recently came back, coming up about a year now.
Okay, so you have traveled a lot and so like that. Why Berlin?
Why Berlin? Well, I suppose the first functional purpose would be my family's here. But I think for the longest time, even when I moved to Berlin, I always kind of saw myself more as an American. I think just because my upraising in California was just left a huge imprint on me. But funnily enough, by the time I then went to Scotland, I think that's when it really hit me with like my homesickness for Berlin. And that's when it just became painfully aware that like not only had the city adopted me in ways that I didn't expect, but I had adopted the city equally in ways that I didn't expect, to the point where I would call myself a Berliner, like almost through and through.
Nice. So do you miss any other places where you have lived?
Oh, of course. I mean, and I think every other, like all places have something different to offer. I think I miss the wilderness of where I lived in California. I miss the people of Scotland. I miss the beer of Bavaria, but then you can get that here, so that's not an issue. But yeah, no, like I said, I think really, I never missed a place as much as I missed Berlin, and I think that for me really signifies just how important the city is to me.
So you have lived previously in Berlin, right? So you know what the, not just German, but the Berlin bureaucracy is?
Yes.
So,
well,
tell me about it. Do you love it? Yeah, you love it, right? Tell me about it.
I don't think anyone really loves it. I just think either you're used to it or you're not. I think as well, considering I can also compare Berlin bureaucracy compared to at least bureaucracy in Bavaria, which that is a whole different level of red tape and,
Is it horrible?
Yeah, it's really bad.
So instead of like if you need to get one paper, you usually need to have another 10. So there's another 12,
yeah,
another 20.
And also the people there are in many ways much more formal and correct and more just like You'd think, I suppose, by your experience with like German, like Berlin bureaucrats, that they're exactly like that. No, they're so laid back here, like in comparison. But yeah, no, it is frustrating, I think, because to get one piece of paperwork, you need to get another piece of paperwork. And you can't get that piece of paperwork unless you have an address, or if you have a bank account, or if you have a tax ID, or it all sort of goes into this massive full circle. And I think especially for newcomers, it can be really frustrating.
I will say same with appointments, right? If you don't have an appointment, then you cannot get anything. I think you can, without appointment, you just can go to a hospital. Even if you're bleeding or something really broken, then as a first aid, maybe you will have help without appointment.
And even if so, you better have health insurance.
Yeah, I mean, I have waited my driving classes for around 7 months. I mean, I still cannot believe, and I was waiting another month just to get the appointment to have to change my driving license. It's just crazy. Really, it's crazy. Bureaucracy here is just like something that I've never experienced in my life. I've been in London for 3 years, and there's nothing like that. You can just give a cash, and you have a phone. You give a cash, and you have a SIM card. I don't know. You can probably just buy a car, but buy a cash. You know, here, no. a joke, seriously.
You need to prove yourself as a citizen of. You just constantly need to have your passport with you or your ID, and if you don't, then well, then you can forget about that SIM card or anything else for that matter. Except buying alcohol, they're completely relaxed with you buying alcohol without an ID here, unlike in the UK.
Oh yeah, right. And also in the UK, I think it's until 10, right?
Mm-hmm. Or at least in Scotland, it's until 10. Then you could, like 10 in the evening, and then you can't buy any more alcohol after that until like 11 o'clock the next day.
You just sit and wait. Okay, what do you think about the housing problem?
Housing problem here in Berlin. Oh.
Like, do you think there is a housing problem, or it's just like the whole mystery information that doesn't exist and it's just like blah blah?
There's a housing crisis. Okay. But as with any big capital city, there's always going to be a housing crisis. I think it's just that you notice it so much more in Berlin because I think, like, due to its unique sort of socio-political history, that it wasn't a typical capital city like you have with Paris or London, where people have been flocking there for years for better economic opportunities or certain lifestyles. Whereas Berlin was divided up until, you know, like the late 80s, and even like, well, I suppose you can say socially in a lot of ways in the 90s. So all of a sudden Berlin has gone, I think maybe in the last 10 years, from being sort of like a second-class capital city to being exactly, not quite eye to eye with Paris or London, but it is definitely in the top 3, I personally would say, of European capital cities. And you could have not said that about Berlin 10 years ago. So I think the housing crisis is just a natural development of how many people find Berlin attractive now.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but a lot of people saying that actually people love Berlin because they believe that people are friendly, or at least they think about that. Others say like, Quadratisch, praktisch, gut, that's it, and it's like the whole stereotype that Germans are always on time, they love everything like straight and forward, and like that's it. Do you agree with the stereotypes, or it's just more...
Ask anyone in Germany, Berlin is not Germany. It is not.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
But then again, like, you can't say London is, you know, the UK.
Yeah.
Whereas I know like a few newcomers to Berlin that always find it really, really funny how Germans will stand at the stoplights, waiting for like the green man to cross, even if there's not a car in sight. But they'll just still stand there waiting, just waiting. I think Berlin will never be equal to Germany. The fact of the matter is, I think in a lot of ways, life in Berlin is much more chaotic than in the rest of Germany. I can say this for 100% certain, having lived in Bavaria. There's much more order, there's much more, if you do something that steps outside of this frame of what is, you know, order, you're so much more likely to be socially crucified. Whereas I think here in Berlin, you could have someone walking around with a paper bag on his head or just in underwear, or if there's a certain sort of, you know, celebration or street party or parade, you get plenty of people that just walk around naked here. Like, you see all different types in Berlin, and so I wouldn't agree with people saying, oh, Berliners are so friendly. No, we have, like, you know, that Berliner Schnauze, which just essentially means, like, it's just that Berliner mouth, and like Schnauze is a really kind of, it's what you would actually use to call an animal's mouth instead. And it's true though, Berliners are blunt and they have like no time for bullshit and any of that. They're just
selfish, really.
It's not.
I mean, ignoring what's happening around them, kind of following the rules, but I still ignore you, but I still want you to follow the rules, and if you're walking on a bicycle line, go away because you're breaking the rules, but I don't care.
I think in general, it's that general understanding of, I'm gonna let you drink or do whatever you want or party or do all these other things as long as your freedom to do whatever you want doesn't impede on my freedom to do whatever I want. I think that's very much sort of like a general sort of Berlin mentality of like, all right, cool, you really want to do that? Well, you're really weird, but you know what? You're not bothering me, so I'm just gonna walk away. So the idea that Berliners are friendly is not true, but equally they're not unfriendly. They're just very practical and very like, all right, you do you, man.
What do you think about like all the freedom in the country? I mean, you just mentioned there's like different kind of people, and I mean, it's like that. Everyone can love whoever they want, and it's relatively open here. Yeah, I mean, come on, love parade is kind of happening here, you know, in the main streets of Berlin. So, do you agree that it's okay to be that open?
Absolutely. I think, like, for me personally, I think if we're just talking about, like, you know, the idea of someone, for example, if you like someone of the same sex, go for it. And I think as well, if you've lived in a society where you have been oppressed or even just told, not explicitly, but just through just the general structure of everyday life, that what you feel or what you think is incorrect, I feel like if you're all the way on this side of the spectrum, and you have that freedom then to go all the way to the other side of the spectrum, of course you're going to do it and live out loud and proud. And they're allowed to do that. And I think that's fantastic, and I have no issue with it. I celebrate it. I know that if I was like ever felt like that, and I felt like my opinion or my way of, you know, believing or loving wasn't, you know, seen as acceptable, and it all of a sudden did, like, you know, was like very accepted. Yeah, I would like wear that proud. I would wear that proud.
Do you think government in Germany is like helping to people who live here? For example, I mean, it's okay, they allowed people like to love each other. They allowed the love parade. In some countries, it's not even allowed to have a love parade.
By love parade, do you mean like the CSD parade? Like
yeah. In some countries, it's just no, like 100% no. And here, even in the middle of this is fine. Government is helping for all the people who need help in general, like insurance. I mean, if you pay taxes, all the doctors are free. It's really good here. Do you think the government in general makes a good job?
Yeah, I would say, again, I think this also comes back to the bureaucracy of things. It makes it very difficult, I think, sometimes if you don't have your stuff together. But they need to have sometimes all those hoops for people to jump through, because otherwise, I think Germany right now has 82 million people, population-wise. So I think the German government does its best. I also think that the German government is constantly trying to improve, at least, but quite often they're a little bit behind on the curve. Because if you're just a huge, massive political powerhouse and you have to control 16 different, federal states, and on top of that, you have to look into growing sort of social unrest or political unrest when it comes to ethnic tensions, religious tensions, or the fact that, the idea, for example, for me, the fact that gay marriage was only just recently legalized is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing, but that's because Germany is such a Christian country as well. Yeah. So I think it is always a sort of this push and pull between trying to do what's best, but as with every government, they can always improve.
Yeah, that's true. But I think government actually does a really good job. But I have only one concern, because I'm a girl, or maybe because I'm shopaholic, I don't know. I hate that Sundays are, everything is closed. I understand why. Thanks God, it's not as I know, even on Saturdays it was closed or something like that. I don't know the whole history, but for example, the idea that all the shops are closed on Sunday, it's fine, I get it, everyone needs help. But still, it's a center, it's Berlin, it's the center of Germany, and
you have Spätis that are open.
I cannot buy their clothes.
Online shopping is your friend in this case. I personally, I think a lot of people can easily be frustrated by that, especially when you first come to Germany and you're just also so used to your weekends if you come from the UK. I know, for example, with Johnny, my boyfriend, and then he was just wait, we have to go food shopping now? I'm no, you have to plan ahead. Or for example, I was telling people from work, So German holiday, like Christmas, we celebrate 24th, 25th, and then 26th, and some of the shops will be open, but with very like limited hours, and some won't be open. So if you really don't want to starve on those days, I suggest you buy your food beforehand. And you see also in like German supermarkets, people like preparing like 2 days in advance before the supermarkets close. Like shelves are empty. People are just like preparing for essentially World War III, when really they're just preparing for the shops to close. So I think once you get into that mindset, it's totally fine. I value my Sundays being really quiet. I value it because it just means you don't have that, a lot of different options to go and do all these different things. You spend it with people that are near and dear to you, or you spend it by yourself. I mean, whatever way you want.
See, it's worked on you.
Or you just do online shopping.
No, yeah, I mean, of course you're right. There should be a day where everyone can spend with the family. But in terms of, I don't know, just a simple tourism, and I mean, I worked in a hotel and I know these faces, of the just the people who going around the shop and they're like, can you come inside? It's closed. Oh, why it's closed? I came just for the weekend for shopping. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy it yesterday, but I couldn't come and I cannot buy it and I'm leaving tomorrow morning. And I mean, I feel sad. I feel sad for these people, but and there is no like information on media. Oh my God, people, you should know Germany on Sunday doesn't work. Only maybe kinos or something like that.
Or restaurants, because I think there's a few times where I've totally missed to do my weekly food shop and I get to Sunday, I'm like, I'm gonna have to order something now. So I think my local sort of like Indian restaurant must have loved me on a Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. But yeah, maybe not the topic that you would like to, but I mean, obviously we all know that Germany invited a lot of refugees to live with us. Yeah. And of course, I mean, I'm pretty sure you agree that all of the people need help. It doesn't matter from where they are and all of this, especially when the war, happened. Yeah. But do you think it's fair, like, that now all the citizens of Germany, let's say, not just have like a problem with refugees? No, nobody doesn't really have the problem with refugees, but the whole criminality in the country increased just the second they came. And also the housing problem started to become even like sharper. Mm-hmm. And in general, in the country started to happen a lot of different stuff. I mean, everyone watched the news, yeah? Just as soon as they came. Like, do you agree? I mean, there's a lot of different opinions about that. It's just like a general topic right now. But still, a lot of people think that like half of the refugees are not exactly refugees. They came for a better life.
Economic migrants.
Yeah, but not, like they were all running from the war or something. They just came to have a help from like a nice German government.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack in that question. First of all, economic migrants, yes, that's definitely a reality, and yes, I think that does take away the time and resources that could actually be invested in people that are actually fleeing for their lives. And I think my very, very base general perspective towards this is that they're humans. They deserve to have the same sense of security and safety that I have when I go to sleep and I wake up the next day. I don't know what it's like not to have a home. I actually don't know what it's like. I can say like, I slept on a few sofas when I was in between flats or something like that. And that in itself was already a little bit emotionally kind of like, this is my sofa kind of feeling. Now imagine, for me personally, if I imagine someone that is running away towards something or away from something and not knowing where you're going to end up, that must be terrifying.
I agree, but you talk about refugees, not about economical...
No, I've moved now on. I'm saying like economic migrants, yes, they exist. Yeah, okay. Now I've moved on to the fact that, yes, you also have, political migrants or refugees. And to be honest, I don't think the idea of linking them to criminality is actually fair, nor is it something that can actually be assessed.
It's just like a lot of media,
Yeah, but as they say, like, correlation does not necessarily relate to causality. Like, maybe because there was a moral panic of, people all of a sudden coming in very rapidly in a short time period. And people then started reporting crimes more. Maybe the crimes always existed, which is quite often the case because people tend to turn a blind eye to crime in general if it doesn't affect you. But if you have a moral panic about something that is unknown, you're definitely going to start reporting more crimes. So I don't think you can necessarily link the two together. Now, housing crisis, on the other hand, I think that's affecting everyone. It doesn't matter where you're from, whatever reasons you come here, voluntary or involuntary or by whatever. I think, again, that's something that the German government definitely needs to sort of improve on. A figure that I read, but it's been probably about a year or two now, so it's probably been updated and I just don't know. But for Berlin actually to keep up, they would need to build like 13,000 new housing a year to keep up with the amount of people coming in at the moment. But like I said, that number's probably been updated since then. So I think there's a lot of things that you're kind of like throwing in there topic-wise and throwing it with the hopes that it's just going to stick towards refugees or something like that. I don't think that's the case.
Trick.
I don't think that's the case. And I mean, I've told you this story before, but like I'll say it also again here because I really think it does capture it very well. My grandmother was in Berlin during the Second World War, little girl. Then when it was being bombed to pieces, her mom essentially sent her out to the countryside, a little bit further east. And then at one point the Red Army started approaching, and so everyone started panicking, but there was no means of transport or anything like that at that moment, because obviously all the resources were also being drawn to all the different fronts. So then the fact of the matter is, I think my grandmother just had to wake up one day as a 9, 10 or 11-year-old girl, I'm not quite sure her age, and she just had to start walking. She started walking back to Berlin. And she at least had the destination in mind, and she also knew that her father was living there, because at that time, like, my great-grandmother had taken my grandmother to the countryside and the father had stayed in Berlin for a job. So at least they had a destination in mind. But that, for my grandmother, is still how she views anyone that is in between homes. And I think it left such a powerful emotional impact on her that when she tells that story, I can really, really feel it, that for her, everyone deserves a home. And it doesn't matter, and I don't think it matters whether it causes more difficulties for everyone else. Again, this is a very idealistic, perspective, and I think there are a lot more, issues here, and we could probably go on talking for hours about this. But yeah, just to sort of sum off this topic, I think it is our right, not our right, it is our human sort of, duty to take care of other people, because in the end that's all we have. Like, Mother Nature doesn't care whether we live or die, and the universe doesn't care if we live or die. The only people that care that we all live or die is the other person sitting right next to you. I mean, hopefully, you'd hope.
So, okay, let's talk about social life. Do you like Berlin in terms of like social life? Bars, clubs, parties, I don't know, not just cinemas, but with like musicals, concerts. Is it like a full of different concerts here? Yes,
I think you can have any kind of personal preference or taste that you have.
Okay, Robert fights.
Actually, I'm probably pretty sure you could find. It might not happen often, but I'm sure at one point or another, once a year, there'll probably be someone that does a robot fighting. I wouldn't put it past Berlin. Yeah, but I love just the variety that you have in like Berlin. I think I sometimes regret that perhaps I didn't take so much advantage of it when I was younger. I mean, I did, but
okay. What was the craziest party that you've been to?
See, because I went to an international school, and so many of the people that I was friends with actually came from embassy families, not necessarily ambassador, but just like their parents worked for the embassy. So they had diplomatic immunity, and so did their houses. So it was just really like, they all kind of blur into just one big, massive, chaotic thing, with sometimes ends up with the police just kind of standing at the gate being like,
I'm sorry, you should leave.
We're going to call your embassy, essentially. That's the full extent of what they could do. They'd be like, we're going to notify your government. Which, I mean, in one way it's kind of scarier. But really, that's just, I suppose, the delights of being a diplomat or having diplomatic immunity and partying in Berlin, and you're 16. So.
Have you ever got like a problem with the German police?
like as far as like Berlin police are very laid back. Like they don't want to have to mess mess with issues unless you're actually going to harm yourself or harm someone else or steal things. So I think the only one time is it was after the South African World Cup, and God, that was a long time ago. And I was actually on Pudong, and we just took like this newspaper cart. I don't know why. We were just like, yeah, let's go roll around in this and celebrate whatever game we were celebrating. And like this police van, huge one, just like drives by really slowly, turns around, comes back out, get out, like massive semi-automatic like guns, and they're like, you know, you're stealing someone's livelihood with that. You just stole a newspaper reserve cart. And that was it. That was the only time I really probably got in trouble with the police. And they were just essentially being like, put that back. Someone needs to make a living. That's the only time I've probably been in proper trouble. Well, and it's not even trouble.
For me, I think it's not like a problem or something. It was just like a crazy situation with a police guy. I'm driving the car and I stopped because I was waiting a friend to pick up to the school because the school was literally like far away from home. And so I stopped and there's like a green bushes, from the one of the sides of the car. And then I see that I hear the music and everything is fine, and there's like knock knock knock. I'm like, what is happening? And then I see the policeman who's like standing like this, like I open the window, stands like that. Please, woman, there is a bushes near to you. I'm like, oh, okay. So, can you turn off your engine? I'm like, okay. And I turn off the engine. In a second, my friend is coming. I turn it on the engine, and I see the face of the policeman who was like, he's angry.
Yeah.
He just said, I just did what he wanted, and I ignored it kind of because in a second, I put the engine on again. And I was like feeling so awkward because like, no, turn off your engine. I'm like, just because of bushes? Like, what I've done wrong? I'm standing on the road, not on the bushes. Oh my god. It was just crazy.
Pollution, man, it's a real thing. See, but that's just it. I think like Berlin police, and I know plenty of people who probably take partying far too excessively, and they have had the police essentially just come up to them being like, hey guys, you're in a public street area, can you just keep it down? Not like, I think whereas in America, if you see someone that's quite clearly intoxicated or partying a little bit too hard in an area that is quite clearly for a community space, they would be arrested. Whereas here, Berlin police are going to be like, right, there's bigger issues, we're just going to tell them to move it along and be quiet. So I quite enjoy that. I think like that there's that freedom in Berlin where like really you can do what you want as long as you are not harming others and you're not harming the general community peace. It's fine. And so but back to like social life. Like I love that you can have 24-hour clubs. You have bars that don't really have a closing time until the last customer leaves. But then equally you have I recently found out about this room, like it's a room called the Crash Room, and you can just go and you pay money to just destroy a room. It's great, so all these different kind of small things, on top of the fact that you can do like sporting activities and you can skydive or you can jump off a building if you want to, it's great. I love Berlin, because honestly, if you keep an eye out, you could probably experience a lifetime within a week, really. If you just, went to the right activities, right parties. It's great.
What is the most memorable moment for you, from Berlin?
From Berlin? There's a lot of them. And there's also just a lot of memories with loads of different people. So I think it'd be hard to pinpoint one. I think perhaps if we're going to talk about the bravest thing that I've ever done, which is perhaps the only thing that comes to mind right now, is the Park Inn at Alexanderplatz. They have a thing, which is why I mentioned jumping off buildings before, because
Oh, if like the parking is a hotel.
Yeah, if the parking is a hotel, which is like, God knows, hundreds of meters. Yeah, it's huge. It is huge. And they have this option to essentially sort of jump off it, like not bungee jump, because that'd be horrendously dangerous. But sort of like they put you on like a harness, and then they just put you out on like this sort of crane, and then they just drop you. And it's like essentially like you're an action like movie star kind of thing, and they just drop you for like hundreds of meters or whatever, and then like when you're about probably like 5 meters off the ground, then they just stop you and then slowly lower you, and that was terrifying. But it was so good. Like you're falling down, and you also see like the TV tower, but you're just like, this is what it would feel like if I was falling off the TV tower.
I mean, you're like,
and then you get to the ground and you're like, right, beer? Let's go get a really cheap beer. Really good quality beer. So yeah, that's probably my most bravest moment that I've had in Berlin.
and the most stupid moment?
Oh. There's a lot of stupid moments.
Where you feel like, ugh, why?
Why? No, I can't think of anything, but...
Come on!
There's plenty of them. Most stupidest thing that I have done.
In Berlin.
In Berlin.
Don't say you jumped off the tower.
Well, now that you mention it. I went swimming in the river here once, which is a really disgusting river. Although they do like regular like bacteria checks, and apparently it's still within an acceptable
That's how you
range.
kind of, you know.
That's why I don't get sick, probably because
Was it in winter time when you were?
No, it was just summertime. And I decided I didn't really want to go to one of the many lakes that we have here because Berlin has many things to offer. I just went into the Spree, which was really disgusting. No, but that's a really bad answer.
It was a bikini, or it was just like.
I think I was in clothing.
What was the level of alcohol in your body?
Actually, not that much. It was during the day. Okay. So I feel like if it was nighttime.
So people saw it.
Yeah, but like other people did it as well. So I mean, like you know, if other people jump off the bridge and into the water, of course I'm gonna fall down.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay, thanks God you cannot ask me this question, so it's fine. Yeah, but the last question for you for today, it's gonna be a situation.
Okay.
So you are in a Uber. So you're driving underground metro, and you're just sitting, reading, listening music, and randomly next to you sits Angela Merkel. And you feel like, oh my god, there's an Merkel next to me, oh my god. And obviously you have a time to ask her a question because nobody really gets that she's here, and you're the one who saw and understood it's Angela Merkel.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity to ask something, or be like, hello. So what do you do? What do you ask? Do you ignore? You make a photo, you make a selfie, like, what do you do?
I think in general I wouldn't make a selfie because I feel like it's so weird. Can I have a photo with her? No. But what would I ask her? I think more than anything, I'd probably just be like, so where's your car? Why are you slumming it with us common people of Berlin in the BVG? I don't know. Is she... How many pantsuits does she have? Like,
yeah, I would ask her, like, why is she wearing the same outfit, just different colors? It's like a trick, or just like, what's the whole point?
Oh no, I would ask if this is a deliberate like thing that she does. Did she like read it somewhere to be like, this signifies power and clarity and patience, or was she just like already doing this as a child? Is this just like a natural sort of habit she developed?
And she's just like, and she answers like, I do that, right?
So yeah, I think that's probably the one I'd probably go with actually. Now I know, because now if I ever do meet her, I'm prepared.
Yeah, but ask about the pants. Okay, thank you very much for spending time with us today. I hope you enjoyed it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview. I hope you liked this video. Please write me in the comments down below what you think about this type of the videos. and see you soon in the next one. Bye!